Digital Designer Designation, the podcast.
Ready to dive into the digital deep end. Today, we're tackling digital transformation.
Sure.
And, we're talking more than just a company going paperless.
Right.
It's a complete, overhaul of how businesses use tech to connect with customers, run their operations.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating is, everyone thinks this is all cutting edge, but our sources actually trace digital transformation all the way back to, the mid-20th century.
Oh, wow.
Those early mainframes, mainly used for payroll and things like that.
Right.
Those were kind of the surprising first steps toward businesses, running on algorithms and such.
It's wild to think that those, clunky machines were the seeds of this whole digital revolution. I mean, then came the internet boom in the 90s, changing how we communicate, shop, basically everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't just connecting people, right? It was about connecting businesses directly to their customers in entirely new ways.
Sure.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
It's like each tech leap kind of set the stage for something even bigger, Suddenly businesses had to think beyond brick and mortar.
Yeah.
E-commerce took off, and those traditional business models, they had to adapt or, risk being left behind.
And then smartphones hit the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Remember life? Before you could, practically do anything from your phone.
I know. It's crazy.
Our sources really highlight how this completely shifted, consumer expectations.
Yeah.
Businesses had no choice but to go mobile first.
Exactly. Think about it. You expect to, manage your bank account, order food, even, hail a ride, all with a few taps on your phone.
All of it.
Companies that didn't offer that kind of, seamless mobile experience, they kind of faded away.
Totally. Consumers demand it.
Absolutely.
So it's survival of the fittest, digitally speaking. But our sources say it's not enough to just keep up. Businesses need to, weave digital into their company DNA. It's a complete cultural shift. It's less about buying a fancy new gadget and more about, learning a whole new skill set.
It's like the difference between, owning a cookbook and being a chef. Digital transformation is about using tech not just to change how a company appears to the customer, but to fundamentally change how it operates at its core, how it delivers value.
So let's talk about that delivering value piece.
Yeah.
What does that look like in the real world of digital transformation?
Well, think about Spotify. They didn't just digitize your old CD collection, right?
No, not at all.
They use algorithms and all that data you provide to create a personalized experience. They solved a problem, which is I want to easily listen to music I love, and they created this whole new way to, enjoy music.
But they totally revolutionized the music industry.
It did.
And the impact goes way beyond just making things look pretty and user-friendly on the outside. Our sources say digital transformation is causing massive changes behind the scenes, too, in a company's internal operations.
Absolutely. Manufacturing is a great example. We've got this whole Industry 4.0 thing happening with smart factories, AI-powered systems, the Internet of Things. These aren't just buzzwords. They're changing the game.
It's every industry is getting this, digital makeover.
Yeah.
But our sources keep mentioning this difference between digital disruption and digital transformation.
Yeah.
Seems like an important distinction. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So think of digital disruption as the outside force. Often it's a small startup with a new idea that, shakes up an entire industry.
Right.
Uber disrupting the taxi industry. That's kind of a classic example. But digital transformation is more of an inside job. It's about companies saying, okay, how can we use tech to, evolve what we're already doing, do it better, give our customers even more.
So it's less about reacting to a changing world and more about anticipating it.
Yeah.
Right. Future-proofing your business.
And our sources point to several reasons companies feel this pressure to transform.
Okay.
Competition is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
The tech landscape changes so rapidly that if you're not innovating, you're falling behind,
And then, of course, there are those digitally savvy customers we talked about. They want what they want when they want it. They have no patience for clunky systems anymore.
Nope. Their expectations are only going to get higher, right? And this is where it gets interesting. The rapid pace of tech itself, that's a driving force too. Every new advancement opens up new possibilities, which in turn fuels the need for even more transformation. It's this wild cycle of innovation.
So we've got intense competition, high customer expectations, and technology that's evolving at warp speed. It's no wonder businesses are scrambling to adapt.
Right.
But let's be real. With all this talk about opportunity, it's easy to overlook the potential downsides. Our sources make it clear that digital transformation comes with its own set of, challenges.
And some of them are significant. Cybersecurity is a big one. I mean, the more a company relies on data and systems, the more vulnerable they are to cyber attacks, which can be, financially and reputationally devastating.
It's like the digital world is this double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Incredible potential, but with some serious risks.
Exactly. Our sources, they really emphasize that cybersecurity needs to be baked in from the start, not tacked on as an afterthought.
Right. Our sources also point out that sometimes the biggest resistance to these digital changes comes from inside a company.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People can be creatures of habit.
Absolutely.
And shifting to new systems can be tough, especially if employees don't understand the why behind it all.
That's why it's so crucial for companies to bring everyone along on the journey, clearly communicating the reasons for the transformation and providing the training and support needed to get everyone on board.
It's not just about telling people what's changing. It's about making sure they understand why it matters.
Yes, exactly.
And that ties into another crucial point our sources emphasize. Digital transformation can't happen in a vacuum. It has to be directly tied to, the overall goals of the business.
It can't be just chasing shiny new tech just because it's cool, right? You need a solid plan.
You need a roadmap.
Right. A roadmap that's aligned with, the company's mission and long-term vision. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you just risk investing in digital solutions that don't actually, move the needle on what matters most.
And having that clear roadmap is probably critical when you're trying to convince stakeholders to get on board, especially when you're talking about, these significant investments required for digital transformation.
Absolutely. Stakeholders need to see that this isn't just an expense, it's an investment in the future of the company. Which brings up another important point our sources raise, which is how do you measure the success of these efforts?
Right. How do you know if it's actually working?
Yeah.
What are the key things to look for?
Well, that's where key performance indicators come into play.
KPIs.
Exactly, KPIs. Our sources, they highlight the need to establish, measurable metrics tied to those business objectives we were just talking about. Things like customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, or, return on investment.
So you need a system for tracking your progress, making sure you're hitting those targets. But even when you have the right metrics and are seeing success, our sources stress that digital transformation, it isn't a one-and-done deal.
Nope. It's an ongoing process, continuous improvement.
Always evolving.
Technology is always evolving. Customer expectations are shifting. The companies that thrive are the ones that embrace a culture of, continuous learning, experimentation, and adaptation. They see digital transformation as a journey, not a destination.
It makes you wonder about the skills and talent needed to navigate this constantly changing digital landscape.
It's a crucial aspect that often gets overlooked. Our sources emphasize that companies need to invest in, upskilling their workforce. Training programs, workshops, even partnering with educational institutions to, bridge the digital skills gap.
Because at the end of the day, even with all the fancy new tech in the world, it's the people who will make or break a digital transformation.
Absolutely. Creating a culture where continuous learning is valued, that's crucial to equip your workforce to adapt and thrive in this, rapidly evolving digital world.
It's fascinating to think about how digital transformation touches every corner of a business, from customer experience to internal operations to talent development. But I think one of the biggest takeaways so far is that digital transformation isn't just about technology. It's much, much bigger than that.
It's about people. It's about processes.
Yeah.
And at its core, it's about a fundamental shift in mindset, challenging the status quo, embracing innovation, always looking for, new ways to create value.
Our sources do a great job of explaining, what digital transformation is, but they also challenge us to think about why it matters. What does this all mean for us as individuals, for our companies, for society as a whole?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one we're all wrestling with as we navigate this digital age.
Speaking of navigating, we're gonna shift gears a bit. When we come back, We'll look at how digital transformation is impacting specific industries. We'll explore some real-world examples of companies that are doing this really well, and maybe some cautionary tales of those who fell behind. Stay with us.
Ready for like a glimpse into the future? Imagine never having to sit in a doctor's waiting room again.
Oh, wow.
Our sources point to telemedicine as a prime example of, digital transformation in action in the healthcare industry.
Wait, you're telling me I could just video chat with my doctor instead of like wasting an hour in waiting room purgatory?
Right.
That's revolutionary.
It really is. And it's about more than just convenience, though that is a huge perk.
Oh, for sure.
But imagine the impact on people in like remote areas who don't have easy access to specialists.
Right.
Telemedicine has the potential to bring healthcare to like anyone with an internet connection, really.
That's incredible. It's amazing how technology can create like more equitable access like that.
Yeah.
Our sources also highlighted the shift from, those paper files to electronic health records. EHRs, right. No more trying to decipher your doctor's handwriting. That's a win in my book.
Right.
But what about security?
Yeah.
It seems like keeping all that like sensitive information safe would be a major, major concern.
You're absolutely right. Our sources, they really emphasize that cybersecurity in healthcare is non-negotiable. It's not just about protecting, patient privacy. It's about maintaining legal compliance and ethical standards, right? Yeah. That means strong cybersecurity protocols at every level and, a commitment to staying ahead of, potential threats.
Speaking of industries facing major, like, digital shifts, let's talk about finance.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like every day there's a new, app or platform promising to revolutionize the way we manage our money.
It's true. And it's a perfect example of how digital transformation caters to what consumers want, right? Mm-hmm. Remember when you actually had to go to a physical bank to deposit a check?
Yeah.
Now you can do it from your phone, in your pajamas at 2:00 a.m.
In your pajamas, exactly.
And it's not just like basic transactions anymore, right? We've got investment platforms, robo-advisors, peer-to-peer lending. The list goes on. It's about giving people more control over their financial lives.
Convenience is great, but having all that financial data floating around cyberspace has to be a little unnerving for some people. How can we be sure it's like actually safe?
It's a shared responsibility. Financial institutions, they need to be constantly, innovating their security measures. Our sources mention things like AI-powered fraud detection as a key area of, development in that space.
Interesting.
And, and as consumers, we can't just rely on banks to like keep our information safe. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication. We would all have a role to play.
So it's a digital balancing act between convenience and security.
Yeah.
Speaking of balancing acts, we've talked about healthcare, we've talked about finance. How is digital transformation like playing out in something more tangible, like like manufacturing?
Yeah, so get ready for, smart factories where robots and humans work side by side.
Okay.
And data is king.
Wow.
That's Industry 4.0 in a nutshell.
Okay.
It's easy to let our imaginations run wild with, robot takeovers and things like that. But our sources, they really emphasize that this isn't about, replacing human workers. It's about augmenting their capabilities, right?
So robots handling like the repetitive, physically demanding tasks, which then frees up humans to focus on things that require like creativity and problem-solving skills.
Exactly.
That's a much more optimistic scenario than like the robot uprising I was picturing.
Right. And it's more than just, robots on the assembly line. Our sources really point to the Internet of Things, or IoT, as a game changer for manufacturing.
Okay.
Imagine like sensors on every piece of equipment, all collecting data on, performance and efficiency in real time.
Wow.
That data, that allows for like predictive maintenance, which means fewer breakdowns, less downtime, and just, a smoother, more cost-effective operation.
It's like giving the entire factory like a digital nervous system or something. That same data-driven approach seems to be like popping up in every industry we've talked about so far.
It's true. It's a common thread throughout all of our sources. The real value of digital transformation isn't just in the technology itself, but in the insights we can glean from the data it generates. Yeah, and that data allows companies to make more informed decisions about everything from product development to marketing to customer service.
So it's less about predicting the future and more about using data to create the future you want for your company.
Exactly. But, our sources are clear that we can't lose sight of the bigger picture here. A successful digital transformation is not just about speed and efficiency.
Right.
It also needs to be a sustainable one.
That makes sense. We can't just keep racing toward a digital future without thinking about the impact all this technology has on the planet. What are some of the key considerations companies should be thinking about? It feels like every conversation about tech these days, circles back to sustainability.
It always does.
So how do we square this push for a digital future with the need to, protect our planet?
Right. Well, it's a critical question. Our sources point out that all those, data centers and devices we rely on,
Right.
they require massive amounts of energy, which often means, a pretty hefty carbon footprint.
It's like we're asking the planet to foot the bill for our digital demands.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's why our sources, they bring up the need for things like energy efficient data centers, sustainable manufacturing processes for those devices, even designing software that's, leaner and less energy intensive.
This is it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
Thinking about how we build it, power it, even design it.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the environmental impact too.
Yep.
The ethical implications of, data collection are a major consideration as well. The more data companies gather, the more crucial it becomes to prioritize things like privacy, transparency, and responsible use. We can't just race towards innovation without safeguarding those fundamental rights.
Because all that data, if it falls into the wrong hands,
oh yeah,
it could have some real world consequences.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of, consequences, we have to acknowledge that the benefits of digital transformation aren't always distributed equally.
Right.
Our sources point to the digital divide, the gap between those who have access to technology and, digital literacy and those who don't.
Yeah.
Bridging that gap is, it's crucial if we want a truly equitable digital future, right?
A world where everyone can benefit, not just, a select few.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways we can work towards that more inclusive vision?
Well, it's going to take a multi-pronged approach, that's for sure.
Okay.
Our sources talk about the need for digital inclusion initiatives, affordable internet access, and digital skills training programs, particularly for underserved communities.
So it's not just about making sure everyone has a smartphone. It's about making sure they have the skills and support to actually use that technology to improve their lives.
Exactly. It's about empowering people, not just connecting them. It's a collective effort. It involves governments, businesses, educational institutions. We all have a part to play. It
sounds like creating a truly sustainable and equitable digital future. It requires a whole new level of collaboration and a shared understanding of the responsibility that comes with these advancements.
It's a challenge, no doubt, but it's also an incredible opportunity, right? To really leverage technology to build a more connected, sustainable, and equitable world.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into digital transformation. Yeah. We've explored its evolution, its impact, and the opportunities and challenges it presents. But this isn't just about understanding the what of digital transformation. It's about grappling with the so what, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How will you use this knowledge? How will you help shape the future of your work, your industry, even your world? Keep those questions in mind as you navigate this, this ever-evolving digital landscape.
And never stop, questioning, exploring, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in this digital age.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another thought-provoking exploration of a topic shaping our world. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.